here I am again. It's going to get fairly monotonous, isn't it? Well, tomorrow it might be a little different. I might take on a different room. Probably not. Let's be real. I tend to work in my study, so I'm going to stay here, but it'll be a different ambiance, I hope. Let's see. So getting back to Bottom, right? So Titania has already articulated her excitement, right, about this beautiful mortal who's not just beautiful, also wise. And Bottom's like, why? I don't even get you. I don't even get you, right? He's a cute, modest thing that has fallen into her lap, if you will. And so she has this great set of lines that I want to read out, right? So she says, "Thou art as wise as thou art beautiful," to which Bottom says, "Not so neither, but if I had wit enough to get out of this wood, I have enough to serve mine own turn." So he is again looking for a line of escape, a line of flight. To which Titania says, "Out of this wood do not desire to go. Thou shalt remain here, whether thou wilt or no. I'm a spirit of no common I'm a spirit of no common rate. The summer still doth tend upon my state, and I do but love thee. Therefore go with me. I'll give thee fairies to attend on thee, and they shall fetch thee jewels from the deep, and sing while thou on pressed flowers dost sleep. And I will purge thy mortal grossness, so that thou shalt like an airy spirit go, peace blossom, cobweb, moth, and mustard seed, enter for fairies, ready, and I, where shall we go?" To which Titania says, "Be kind and courteous to this gentleman, hop in his walks and gambol in his eyes, feed him with apricots and dewberries, with purple grapes, green figs, and mulberries. The honey bags steal from the humble bees, and for night tapers crop their waxen thighs, and light them out of fiery glowworms' eyes. To have my love to bed and to arise, and pluck the wings from painted butterflies, to pan the moonbeams from his sleeping eyes. Nod to him, elves, and do him courtesies. Hail, mortal, hail, hail, hail. I cry your worship," says Bottom. "I cry your worship's mercy. Heartily, I beseech your worship's name," so on and so forth. It carries on. And the scene ends with just even more musicality, but it is bordering, if not very much in, the main throes of an S&M eroticism, right? So Titania says to all her fairy minions, "Come wait on him. Lead him to my bower. The moon, methinks, looks like a watery eye. And when she weeps every little flower, lamenting some enforced chastity. Tie up my lover's tongue, bring him silently." Right? Exit Titania with Bottom and the fairies. I bring this up because it is a scene which is remarkable for its beauty, right? The music of Titania's words is undeniable, right? The promise of Titania's rewards to Bottom for his obedience, if you will, and again, obedience. It's too tempting. It's too good, right? I mean, she's not only going to have all these glorious things for a man to eat, a man who is a rude mechanical, who has no business eating all these things, let alone being rendered into an airy spirit, being bereft of mortal grossness, right? She is promising a sort of eternity, if you will. But it's an eternity which is going to be dished out if bottom is silent, obedient, and chaste in the way that she wants him to be, right? So this is the S&M dynamic where she is the dominant figure, the dominatrix, the mother, the matriarch, also the one who can get nature to do all sorts of things, even in its state of chaos, right? So while nature is turned upside down and hurricanes and earthquakes and winters and summers are all mixed up together, she can still get summer to be her, be at her beck and call, right? And this moment of erotic, sensuous intimacy is undeniably one of the most beautiful ones in Shakespeare, I would say. Certainly it is the most beautiful love scene, if you will, in this play, right, where we have had male lovers forget their love and mistreat lovers. They have threatened rape, they have threatened and followed through with a sort of toxic conjuration, right, that has rendered the climate of romance and the climate of love to be perverted and noxious, right? In such an environment, this remains stunningly beautiful, but also stunningly impure, because it is the human and the fairy coming together in the bed, with the human male being silenced, tied up by the fairy female, who we have already seen has the power to digress and transgress, right? So when Bottom awakens, and I want us to look at that scene next, and he wants to narrate what happened, right? He's like, oh my God, what the hell happened, right? I'm sorry, I swear. But language is meant to be vandalized. It is a dirty, living thing that expresses, and all expressions cannot be sanitized. Don't worry, I won't swear vehemently, but I'm just saying this in case you share this with other people and they are traumatized by my use of the word hell. So if we look at Bottom's dream, right, this is Act, let me see, 4, Scene 1, the very end of the scene. Bottom wakes up, right, because Titania's poison has, or her eyes have been cleansed of the love juice that made her fall in love with the monster. And of course, it has happened after the fact, we're told, that Oberon has managed to claim the Indian boy for himself. So Bottom wakes, end of Act 4, Scene 1. When my cue comes, call me and I will answer. My next is, my most fair Pyramus. Hey ho, Peter Quince, flute the bellows mender, snap the tinker, starveling, God's my life stolen hence and left me asleep. I have had a most rare vision. I have had a dream, past the wit of man to say what dream it was. Man is but an ass if he go about to expound this dream. Methought I was, there's no man can tell what. Methought I was I methought I had, but man is a patch fool if he will offer to say what methought I had. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Man's hand is not able to taste, his tongue to conceive, nor his heart to report what my dream was. I will get Peter Quince to write a ballad of his dream. It shall be called Bottom's Dream, because it hath no bottom, and I will sing it in the latter end of our play, before the Duke. Peradventure, to make it the more gracious, I shall sing it at her death. That last bit is really, it's a crux, it's a textual crux, and we can talk about that when we meet on Monday. But for now, I want you to focus on what Bottom is literally saying, right? He is saying his dream is intranslatable, untranslatable, non-translatable. It transcends experience, right? And then he starts pointing, anatomizing the insufficiency of human senses, the ineptitude of human experience to express and articulate pleasure. He talks about how, he really does break down some of the senses, right? When he's saying man's hand is not able to taste, his tongue to conceive, nor his heart to report what my dream was. This dream, right, which Titania too has experienced in some form, and that as the play ends, Oberon has not yet disclosed to her, right? However she interprets her dream, is it a nightmare, is it a dream, is left open. But this notion that there are these moments where linear temporality is broken, where paradox is what we are offered instead of a chronological order. Instead of a status quo, we are given paradox, we are given contradiction, we are given insufficient means to talk about experience. But the experience itself, non-translatable as it is right, and it's becoming is its modality, that it's always something which is forming. It has some of the past, some of the present attached to it, but it is the antidote to the patriarchally determined reproductive futurity that is promised at the end of the play, that makes it a comedy, right? There is pleasure interlaced in the comedy, and that pleasure palpable, tangible, but not necessarily something that can be spoken of, right? That is part of, I think, what makes the play's possibilities, the conclusion, digestible. That there are these transgressive moments that are left there that are not corrected, right? I mean, the traditional way of thinking about transgression is that it will be contained. And yes, in the main scheme of play, the transgressions are contained, but these moments, the slippages, are left in there, unresolved. Will Bottom forget? His eyes are not poisoned. Will Titania remember, and remember differently to what Oberon wants her to? We don't know. And that I think is the provocation of Shakespeare's comedy, that it will leave us with these possibilities that we will talk a little more about, but now we'll move on to the next lecture. Thank you.